Demonstrating his diplomatic acumen, Alexander treated Darius's captured family with great respect, earning admiration even from his enemies. An intricate knot that, according to prophecy, could only be unraveled by the ruler of Asia. The story of Alexander the Great begins in Pella, the ancient capital of Macedonia, where he was born on July 20th, 356 BCE. His birth was surrounded by myths and omens, fueling the legend that he was destined for greatness. On the same night, the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus was said to have burned down, an event that seers interpreted as a sign of the arrival of a world-changing force. His father, King Philip II of Macedonia, was a formidable leader who transformed a fragmented kingdom into a dominant power in the Greek world. A military mastermind and a cunning politician, Philip reformed the Macedonian army, introducing the phalanx formation, a tight infantry formation that proved nearly unbeatable. Through skillful diplomacy and calculated warfare, he united much of Greece under Macedonian rule, laying the foundation for Alexander's future conquests. Alexander's mother, Olympias, was a strong-willed and deeply spiritual woman. A devout follower of Dionysian mysticism, she was known for her intense religious practices, which were viewed with both reverence and suspicion. She instilled in Alexander the belief that he was no mere mortal. According to legend, she claimed that Zeus had fathered her son, further feeding the young prince's sense of destiny. Whether real or fabricated, these stories shaped Alexander's unshakable belief in his divine purpose. From an early age, Alexander displayed remarkable intelligence, energy, and ambition. He was competitive, physically strong, and eager to prove himself. His early education focused on physical training, horsemanship, and hunting, skills that would later prove invaluable in his military career. Even as a child, Alexander exhibited leadership qualities, often challenging and surpassing his peers. At the age of 13, Alexander's education took a pivotal turn when his father hired the great philosopher Aristotle as his tutor. Philip spared no expense, ensuring that his son received the finest education possible. For 3 years, Alexander studied under Aristotle, learning philosophy, science, ethics, and politics. Aristotle introduced Alexander to the works of Homer, particularly the Iliad, which became his favorite book. He idolized Achilles, the hero of the epic, and sought to emulate him in both character and action. According to historical accounts, Alexander kept a copy of the Iliad with him during his campaigns, reinforcing his belief that he was destined for greatness. Beyond literature, Aristotle taught Alexander about governance, leadership, and the importance of wisdom in ruling an empire. However, their views diverged on one key issue. Aristotle believed in the superiority of Greek culture, whereas Alexander would later embrace and integrate the diverse cultures of his empire. This early exposure to different philosophies likely influenced Alexander's later policies of cultural fusion. One of the most famous stories from Alexander's youth is his taming of Bucephalus, the horse that would accompany him into battle. Bucephalus, a wild and powerful steed, was brought to Philip's court as a prized war horse. However, no one could tame him, and he was deemed too dangerous to ride. Alexander, observing the animal closely, realized that the horse was frightened by its own shadow. Demonstrating both insight and courage, he turned Bucephalus toward the sun, preventing it from seeing its shadow, and then mounted him with ease. The stunned onlookers, including Philip, watched as Alexander rode the untamable beast. Philip, deeply moved, is said to have remarked, "My son, you must find a kingdom big enough for your ambition. Macedonia is too small for you." This event became a defining moment in Alexander's early life, symbolizing his ability to see beyond conventional thinking and conquer what others deemed impossible. Bucephalus would remain Alexander's most trusted companion in battle. Their bond was legendary, and the horse became a symbol of Alexander's perseverance, bravery, and connection to the divine. When Bucephalus died after the Battle of the Hydaspes, Alexander honored him by founding a city, Bucephala, in his name. In 336 BCE, when Alexander was just 20 years old, his father, Philip II, was assassinated under mysterious circumstances during the wedding of Alexander's sister, Cleopatra. While the exact details remain unclear, some suspect that Olympias may have played a role in the plot to ensure Alexander's rise to the throne. Despite his youth, Alexander wasted no time securing his position. He swiftly eliminated political rivals and consolidated power. Many Greek city-states, believing that Philip's death was an opportunity to break free from Macedonian rule, attempted to rebel. However, Alexander responded with decisive force. Thebes, one of the strongest Greek cities, revolted only to be brutally crushed by Alexander's army. He razed the city, sparing only temples and the house of the poet Pindar, as a warning to others who might challenge his rule. This ruthless display of power solidified his authority over Greece. With Greece firmly under his control, Alexander turned his gaze eastward. His father had long planned an invasion of the Persian Empire, but his untimely death had prevented him from carrying it out. Now, Alexander was determined to fulfill that ambition and carve out an empire greater than any before him. With Greece firmly under his control, Alexander set his sights on the Persian Empire. His campaign was not only a continuation of his father Philip II's vision, but also a defining moment in his legacy. Persia, under King Darius III, was the dominant superpower of the time, spanning 3 continents. However, internal strife and discontent among its satraps, governors, presented an opportunity that Alexander sought to exploit. In the spring of 334 BCE, Alexander led an army of approximately 40,000 infantry and 5,000 cavalry across the Hellespont into Asia Minor. Before stepping onto Persian soil, he made sacrifices to the gods and visited the ancient site of Troy, paying homage to Achilles, his childhood hero. This act further reinforced his belief that he was destined for greatness, a conviction that would drive him throughout his conquests. The first major battle of the Persian campaign took place at the Granicus River. The Persian satraps had amassed a formidable force to halt Alexander's advance. Despite being outnumbered, Alexander's superior battlefield tactics and the discipline of his troops allowed him to secure a decisive victory. In a bold and risky maneuver, he personally led a cavalry charge aimed directly at the Persian commanders. The attack shattered Persian resistance, leaving many of their leaders dead and sending the rest fleeing. This triumph marked the beginning of a series of conquests in which city after city submitted to his rule. Rather than destroying local cultures, Alexander embraced a policy of integration, allowing Greek and Persian traditions to blend. He appointed local rulers who pledged loyalty to him, ensuring stability in the regions he conquered. In Phrygia, Alexander encountered the legendary Gordian knot, an intricate knot that, according to prophecy, could only be unraveled by the ruler of Asia. Instead of struggling to untie it, Alexander boldly sliced through it with his sword, declaring that he had solved the problem. This act epitomized his unconventional approach to challenges: bold, decisive, and willing to break with tradition to achieve his goals. In 333 BCE, Alexander confronted Darius III at the Battle of Issus in modern-day Turkey. Despite being vastly outnumbered, Alexander's strategic genius secured another resounding victory. He executed a flanking maneuver that disrupted the Persian lines, forcing Darius to flee the battlefield in humiliation. The Persian king's panicked retreat left behind his family and vast treasures, further solidifying Alexander's reputation as an unstoppable force. Demonstrating his diplomatic acumen, Alexander treated Darius's captured family with great respect, earning admiration even from his enemies. He then turned his attention southward, seizing control of the eastern Mediterranean coast. His conquest of Phoenician cities, including Tyre and Gaza, established Macedonian dominance in the region. One of Alexander's most formidable military challenges was the Siege of Tyre in 332 BCE. The city, located on an island, boasted strong fortifications and a powerful navy. Unable to breach its defenses directly, Alexander ordered the construction of a massive causeway to connect the island to the mainland. After months of relentless effort and fierce resistance from the Tyrians, Alexander's forces finally breached the city walls. The fall of Tyre demonstrated his perseverance, ingenuity, and ability to overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Following the fall of Tyre, Alexander marched into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator from Persian rule. The Egyptians, who resented Persian domination, embraced him and crowned him as pharaoh. During his time in Egypt, he founded the city of Alexandria, which would grow into one of the greatest centers of learning and culture in the ancient world. While in Egypt, Alexander journeyed to the Siwa oasis to consult the oracle of Amun. According to historical accounts, the oracle proclaimed him the son of Zeus Ammon, reinforcing his belief in his divine mission. This moment significantly influenced his self-perception and how he presented himself as a ruler. In 331 BCE, Alexander faced Darius III in the decisive Battle of Gaugamela. The Persian king had assembled an army that vastly outnumbered Alexander's forces, including war chariots and elite cavalry. However, Alexander's superior battlefield tactics once again proved decisive. Using a calculated feint to create gaps in the Persian lines, he launched a direct assault on Darius, causing chaos in the Persian ranks. Once again, Darius fled, leading to the complete collapse of Persian resistance. With this victory, Alexander effectively became the ruler of the Persian Empire. He entered Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, Persia's great capitals, seizing immense wealth and officially marking the end of the Achaemenid dynasty. After capturing Persepolis, Alexander allowed his troops to loot the city. The decision to burn the royal palace remains controversial. Some historians argue that the destruction was an act of revenge for Persia's invasion of Greece a century earlier, while others suggest it was an impulsive act fueled by a drunken celebration. Regardless of the motive, the burning of Persepolis symbolized the fall of Persian dominance and the dawn of Alexander's rule. Now the undisputed ruler of an empire spanning from Greece to India, Alexander faced the monumental task of governance. Unlike previous conquerors, he sought to integrate rather than dominate. He adopted elements of Persian customs, donned Persian attire, and encouraged his officers to marry Persian women. His policy of cultural fusion, known as Hellenization, spread Greek language, art, and ideas while respecting local traditions. To consolidate his rule, Alexander introduced administrative reforms. He retained many Persian officials to ensure continuity, and established Greek-style cities throughout his empire. These cities became centers of commerce, learning, and cultural exchange, laying the foundation for the Hellenistic world. Despite his overwhelming success, Alexander was not satisfied. In 326 BCE, he launched a campaign into the Indian subcontinent, where he encountered fierce resistance from King Porus at the Battle of the Hydaspes River. Porus's army included war elephants, which initially disrupted Alexander's formations. However, through tactical maneuvering and disciplined warfare, Alexander secured victory. Impressed by Porus's courage, Alexander reinstated him as a vassal ruler, demonstrating his respect for strong and capable leaders. This decision was emblematic of Alexander's leadership style, rewarding those who proved their worth, regardless of nationality. Despite his conquests, Alexander's army was weary. His soldiers, exhausted from years of relentless campaigning, refused to march further into India. Facing growing unrest, Alexander reluctantly agreed to return westward. The journey back through the Gadrosian desert proved disastrous, with thousands of soldiers perishing due to extreme heat and shortages of food and water. In 323 BCE, Alexander returned to Babylon, where he began planning new campaigns, including an ambitious expedition into Arabia. However, before he could embark on his next conquest, he fell gravely ill and died at the age of 32. The cause of his death remains one of history's greatest mysteries, with theories ranging from poisoning to malaria or typhoid fever. Although his empire fragmented soon after his death, Alexander's influence endured for centuries. The Hellenistic era, which followed his conquest, saw Greek culture spread across Asia and the Mediterranean, shaping the development of art, philosophy, science, and governance. Alexander remains one of history's most revered military leaders, admired for his ambition, strategic brilliance, and vision of cultural integration. His legacy continues to inspire leaders, scholars, and military strategists to this day.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe to History Portal for more historical stories.